Hello, StarCrafters. This is Wookie, and I've got another Bronze League game for you. Hopefully, there's a little lesson in it we can find here. This is between me, Wookie, the Red Terran, and Commander, the Blue Terran, on Metalopolis. And what we're going to look at here is something that you need to keep in mind. I'm going to call it having blinders. And so here's a good example of getting blinders and how it can cost you. So right away, nothing happened. No, we're Bronze League players, so we're just creating SCVs and getting ourselves supply blocked and that kind of thing. And my opponent is curious as to where I live, apparently asking me what time it is. You could see I play at 4 a.m. I'm a second shifter, so I stay up late and play games. My first SCV scout goes completely the wrong direction, so I learned that there is no opponent here for me to kill. My opponent decides not to scout, does a 3 supply depot wall off, and right away is getting barracks with tech labs. And the first unit he produces, we can look at the production tab, is Reaper. So he's going with the Reaper play. I'm doing a pretty standard get your barracks and start cranking out the units. I find that is the best solution for me for most scenarios. Just have units. You have a chance if you've got units. So that's what I've been doing. More recently is not trying to play fancy, not trying to play cheesy, just get some units, and hopefully if you've got enough of them you can survive. Now what just happened over here, we didn't see it, but my SCV got around and got blown up by a Reaper, and I saw it. So at this point in the game, I know that my SCV just got blowed up by a Reaper. So now I am totally expecting it and just waiting for it. I put my Marines on patrol here because I know he's going to want to hop up. I suspect he'll hop here where my workers are, so I put a couple of Marines there. So I'll see it happen. And we're going to slow the game down now because things are happening. Here he comes moving out. He used these to scout, so he created 6 of Reapers before he even moved out of his base, and he's scouting with them. If he had just pulled one SCV to scout ahead of time, he could have already known where I was and gone right to my base. But while he's out running around trying to find me, I've put a couple more units out. And this tipped me off, actually, that chat. When he said, I'm like, okay, he went the wrong way and now he's coming to me. So here's where the good stuff happens. He hops up, perfect spot. I think I managed to kill 1 Reaper, and then he's just chewing up my SCVs, and they go super fast. Oh my goodness, look at that. It's so horrible. But all I do is move everything I've built that was guarding my front around, blow it all up, and then I get ready for a counterattack. Because I've been just sitting in my base producing units waiting for this Reaper push that I suspected was coming, and sure enough it did. And of course I do the classic walk right along under the ledge so that you can get yourself blown up before you get to the ramp. Be careful of that on this map if you think about it. Cross the street and go down the other sidewalk, and here he gives me a little compliment on my army, but it's really not that spectacular. All I did was build 3 racks with a lab and a reactor and 1 factory for tanks, and I just kept producing on them. He blew up all my SCVs. We switched to the income tab, and I'm way down. I got 8 workers right now. I didn't even worry about trying to get back in the game or repair. I knew I just had to push because 6 Reapers had to be most of what he had. He built a starport in a factory but never used them, I'm not sure why. So he gives me the GG, and I get the win on that one, which I do about half the time. I'm floating right around 500 in my on my ladder. But back to my point about having blinders on, we're going to go back in the game a little bit to the point where Commander starts scouting with his Reapers. I think it's coming right up. Yep, here we go. Okay, so we're going to slow down. Now here is the production tab we're going to look at. When he jumped off the ledge, let me find the units. When he jumped off the ledge, he was producing a barracks and a factory. Now you can see he's scouting around, and the factory finished. The barracks is still in production, but he hasn't started producing any more units. That's because I suspect his eyes are right on these units, and he's microing them, telling them where to go, paying attention. Still nothing producing. He's been scouting for, I want to say, about a minute now. 1 minute of game time, anyway. You can't find me. He's still not producing anything. Still not producing anything. I'm making a tank and a marauder. I had some Marines pop when he jumped off. Still not producing anything. Okay, here he goes into my SCV line. Oh, dead SCVs, dead SCVs. He's tearing it up. He might even be individually selecting SCVs to one shot, but he's not producing anything, not producing anything. I lost 3 Marines and a bunch of SCVs. He lost 6 Reapers. Unit lost tab. He's way ahead. He's crushed me as far as units lost. Now we look at his production tab. He's building, all of a sudden, a reactor, a barracks, a starport, 2 marauders. It's like, oh goodness, he gets back to his base, he's got no units. And before I get there, you'll see, oh, there goes stim. There goes combat shield. We look at his units. He has 770 in stock, and look at all this. I mean, he just spent all that money, and he's back at 800. So here I come. Now look at my production. Anything that, I mean, the only thing I've got is anything I clicked before I moved out of my base. So I'm not producing anything. I'm not producing anything. I'm not producing anything. You know, here my eyes are right here. I'm picking his units. I'm focus firing. I'm trying to blow up buildings. Not producing anything. Not producing anything. Not producing anything. And so the lesson here is when Commander was scouting with his Reapers or trying to find me doing his harassment, he could very easily have been producing units. And then if he had done that, by the time I got to his base with my counter push, he may have been able to fend me off. And say he does fend me off and I lose all my units. I wasn't producing anything, so he can counter push. And you want to use your tab key or your control groups. How hard is it to put your army on control group 1 and your production buildings on control tab? You see I use 4 for my command center, 5 for my barracks, 6 for my factory. So when you're moving your army around, just select them all, control group 1, let them go. You can see I don't do that here because I wasn't really keen on that. I do it now and it helps tremendously. But as your army is tooling around, tell it what to do. How hard is it to go for S11? So select your command center, create an SCV, and then double click your control group, or 1-1, tap 1-1, and your eyes are on your army. The screen would jump back to your army. Actually, you wouldn't even need to do that if you just tap, because a single tap doesn't move your screen. So I can tap 4S. I've created an SCV in 1, and I've reselected my army. My eyes didn't have to move. I'm still watching my units that are in harm's way, but I've just created an SCV. I make sure everything's good. I can tap 5, select all 3 of my barracks. You can see I've got them rallied out there, and tab AAD and make 2 Marines and a Marauder, or AAAD or whatever, and then 1-1, and I'm back to my units. And that way you're producing units while you're got your eyes on where the action is. So if things do go wrong for you, You haven't just been sitting there doing nothing. You don't get back to your base with no units and 1,000 minerals in the bank and get yourself killed a rich person, because that's never good. When you die, you want to die with 0 minerals, or at least as close as you can get. So keep that in mind when you're out there battling your way up the Bronze League. I hope this was a little bit helpful. Take care, and I'll see you next time I learn something.